as we were talking about, nobody chooses to disconnect from the restorative embodied self-experience, which is that homeostasis, the ability to be in your ventral, vagal, and or vagus nerve. Again, I'm going to keep getting those two confused. But what we also know is that no mind, or brain, I should say, the embodied brain, is fixed in stone necessarily. Our lovely neuroscience community and our mental health community, the good ones, not the ones who say that the silverbacks are the only way we're going to go, because that's where they are stuck in a moment in time and ignoring the technology. So here's where, on a note, I don't like creating any type of ones and twos, but sometimes ones and twos are required. 5D mystics and functional adults are not competing with spirituality, spiritual, or human elements, the sciences. And we're not necessarily the empirical science people, because otherwise we wouldn't be mystics and woo-woo people. So that's why the pseudoscience, I'm good with that one, but I'm not a person who's disseminating pseudoscience to say, here, let me sell you snake oil. No, I'm a person, you're a person. And so mysticism and clairs is a very beautiful world for a 5D person, which is why 4D, when I began noticing their inconsistencies, because the inconsistency is what? If you know your energy and you're talking to me about cutting cords, you obviously don't know what the word energy means in your brain. And I'm saying, like, the way you're conceptualizing it, you have a story. The story is a different thing. It's not the data. Data is energy. Data means it's like whatever it is that the science. So here, you want to be with the flat earthers, or what do we want to be? And again, all due respect to the flat earthers, but I would not be using my time to figure out the earth is flat. It's a waste of your time. I mean, I feel it's a waste of your time, because I'd rather you be using your genius brains to look into environment and go and create businesses as entrepreneurs can do, and do something practical with your life, versus let me go with my group and come together and talk about how everyone is lying to us. And yeah, it's all teenagers. In fact, that's the whole point. They're all adoptive children. Harsh, because their mind does not work in a way of their emotions having been tended to. Their emotions are not tended to. They found a group, they bonded. There's their silverback as the dude or whoever it is, and however it came to be where the earth is flat, they all said, yeah, let's all fall. And I was like, wow, I thought I'd grow up and meet grown-ups. I'm just surrounded by a bunch of teenagers. So 4D land, that's pretty much teenager land. 3D, I mean, if you got some person yelling at you from the age of 3 or 4 or whatever, and like making it out that you're going to be punished, and talking to you only in a certain way about the entire story of the monotheistic religions, I'm like, wow, okay, yeah, I can see how if I'm an infant growing up in a household like that, I'm going to grow up in a body that's literally, every time my implicit memory comes up, I'm freaking out inside, and I'm completely terrified, and I will associate whatever. So this is why learning about being human is important, because the emotions rule you. Implicit memory is your first 3 years of life. That's all you're building, and it's all sensations. The 4D doesn't create a relationship with their emotional body. They create a relationship with the story they find more appealing to their own story. And that's where it can be that I have no money, and I'm going to go with all the ones who go against the people who have money. It can be that I don't think people are trustworthy, and I don't know. It's like the IHP naysayer, thank goodness for him. He's against self-help. He finds the pseudoscience bullshit and self-help crap. And it was a 1-minute video, and I was like, wow, did he even watch all of it? I'm wondering, in 15 seconds, that's the average watch time. But I thanked him for giving me a good episode to do, because I was able to also share with my lovely listeners who listened. I said, what I noticed? It took me about 15-20 minutes to get down to my actual normal state. And I know this because I fucked up big time. I'm usually not great with grammar at all, even though I did do college, but I'm not always great. I know that. But I forgot a word. And it's a word that I use so many times that I know that's an indication that I was, even though calm, still my brain was upset. My human being brain. But there's the part of the anger affects our hippocampus, the memory center. So it gets surrounded with cortisol, something like that. So that's why we are chemistry. If you understand words and then it teaches you how you work, you know why anger dumbs you down. We even have said gurus sharing lovely little quotes, but what the 4D don't know is when they're yelling out of their mouth and they're spitting vengeance and saying, I know everything my twin flame is doing, and they're with the third party, and like literally I've had people that they didn't do it with me. They told me about their story and I said, okay, look, nobody can control your mind. Yes, they can. No. Your mind is in your brain. It's in your own physical beingness. So if you just breathe for a minute, and I didn't even know anything about somatics yet, you know what the answer was? So here's where adaptive children, they don't like when the grown-ups give them an answer to something that they're pouting about, because this is the only way I can present to you something. Because see, I'm okay with having charged states. I learned how to handle my 3-year-old. I was taught very many times how to mind my own business. And I, in time, was like, yeah, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. Why would I be in your business? It's not interesting at all. And I wasn't in your business to try and be in your business. I thought we were having an exchange. But, so a functional adult here, day in the life of secure attachment people. We learned the right silence. I was 16. I started to learn the right silence because I was like, I love all people. Polyamory. I had to sit down and argue with people about how I love all people equally. Like literally, they sat me down and this is the most mind-blowing moment in my life, because I was forced to decide who I would save if the world ever came to an end. And I found it extremely humorous that all people in this room who love me didn't accept, and to this day they don't accept that I love all people equally. The same way, I saw this one quote, and these are people that I also know, so I'm like, should I go tell them that I love all people? Because the quote that they used was, if you love all people, then you don't love anybody. And I'm like, well, I guess I don't love you then. But that's not true. And so here's where, when Stephen Porges describes how our body is physiologically in a state of love, it's when you're in a physiological state of compassion. But go tell an adaptive child that, and it's not because they don't necessarily have the level of childhood trauma that we know is serious business and or neglect that we were talking about. Okay, so this is the part. There's a bunch of people, they had enough input, normal, that part. And I say normal because the reality is we have 3 drivers, and sometimes based on which ones are more important to you, your body, you're going to navigate your personality that way. And so here's where self-agency is the driver of a 5D person, because we don't need to bond with you. We're not going to be feeling purpose because you said, yay, you did great. No, we don't need your, hey, if you clap at me, I'm happy and all that, but I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me. Self-agency. And that means I'm going to be proud of me on my own, and then I'm going to enjoy also you, but I don't need the bonding part. Driver is not that I need. So instead, who is driven by bonding? If they don't get a mission important for others, they feel void. Certainty, I need a sense of security. So these are important things. Every person can understand their driver. 4D can understand their emotions, and they can disengage from Storyland if they chose to learn their human babies first, and then the stars are added bonus. And on that note, you're learning to think on your feet for my lovely 5D mystics, because I did have some more channeled guidance for you. And I know it's a tough moment for you too, for some of you, but the tough, quote unquote, if you're 5D material, it ain't tough. It's called emotion regulation, building skills. So you're learning how to harness finally your own alignment of your Purusha Prakriti. You are unconditional love, and you are your own energetic body. So whatever your drivers were, you've learned all this stuff. You can learn all this stuff, and we do talk a lot about it on the longer episodes. In the meantime, what I have to share with anybody who's new, and maybe you won't tune in, humans are awesome. We have infinite higher human consciousness potential experiences, but our brain develops according to our environment. So we need relationships that allow us to fuck up and come back together again. That's called repair. And to expand consciousness means to be unconditionally loving, not about lying or not lying. That's really teenage stuff. So people who want to stay in teenagers, they have conditional love. So there's all the silverback groups for that one. This is not that group. We have unconditional love and compassion. Zen Masters it is, Enlightenment Soul Age group. So tune on in and stay tuned for our master class. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And if you have any questions, let me know.